Chapter 8, Memory. The study of memory looks at some of the following questions. How do we process and store information? Are there different types of memory? How do we retrieve memories? Why do we forget? Photographs can trigger our memories and bring back past experiences back to life. How memory functions. Memory is an information processing system like a computer. It is a set of processes used to encode, store, and retrieve information over a period of different times. Encoding involves the input of information into the memory system. Storage is the retention of the encoded information, and retrieval is getting the information out of the memory and back into awareness. Encoding, when the brain receives information from the environment. It labels and codes it, organizes it with other similar information, and connects it to new concepts to existing concepts. Encoding occurs through two types of processing. Automatic processing, so encoding of details like time, space, frequency, and the meaning of words, usually done without conscious awareness. Example, remembering when you last studied. Effortful processing, encoding of details that takes time and effort. Example, what you last studied, learning new skills. When you first learn new skills such as driving a car, you have to put forth effort and attention to encode information about driving. Once you know how to drive, you can encode additional information about the skill automatically. Types of encoding. Semantic encoding, encoding of words and their meanings. Most effective form of encoding. Attaching meaning to information makes it easier to recall later. It involves a deeper level of processing. Visual encoding, encoding of images. Words that create a mental image, such as a car, dog, and book, concrete words, are easier to recall than words such as level, truth, and value, abstract words. Acoustic encoding is the encoding of sounds. Self-reference effect, the tendency for an individual to have better memory for information that relates to oneself in comparison to the material that has less personal relevance. Storage, Baddeley and Hitch model. Baddeley and Hitch proposed a model of storage where short-term memory has different forms depending on the type of information received. Storing memories is like opening different files in a computer and adding information. 3 short-term systems: visual spatial sketchpad, episodic buffer, phonological loop. According to the model, a central executive supervises the flow of information between the systems. Storage, A through S model. Storage is the creation of a permanent record of information. Atkinson's and Shiffrin's model of memory. Information passes through 3 different distinct stages in order for it to be stored in long-term memory, based on the belief that memories are processed the same way that a computer processes information. Sensory memory. Sensory memory is the storage of brief sensory events such as sights, sounds, and tastes, stored for up to a couple of seconds. First steps of processing stimuli from the environment. The information is not important, it is discarded. If the information is valuable, then it moves to our short-term memory. The Stroop effect. The Stroop effect was discovered while studying sensory memory and described why it's difficult for us to name a color when the word and the color of the word are different. Short-term memory, STM. Short-term memory, or working memory, is a temporary storage system that processes incoming sensory memory. Lasts about 20 seconds. Capacity is usually about 7 items, plus minus 2, discovered by George Miller. Short-term memories are either discarded or stored into long-term memory. Memory consolidation, transfer of STM to long-term memory. One way memory consolidates can be achieved is through rehearsal. Rehearsal is the conscious repetition of information to be remembered. Long-term memory, LTM. LTM is the continuous storage of information. It has no limit and is like the information you store on the hard drive of a computer. There are 2 components of long-term memory, explicit and implicit. So looking at explicit, there's episodic and semantic. Looking at implicit, there's procedural and emotional conditioning. Explicit memory. Explicit memory are memories of facts and events we can consciously remember and recall or declare. Explicit memories include 2 types. Semantic, knowledge about the worlds and concepts of language, so knowing who the president is. And episodic, information about events we have personally experienced. So remembering your first birthday, the what, where, and when of an event, also called autobiographical memory. A small number of people have high superior autobiographical memory, known as hyperthymesia. Implicit memories. Implicit memories are memories that are not part of our consciousness. They're formed through behavior. Procedural stores information about how to do things, skills and actions, example, how to ride your bike, tie your shoelaces, drive. Implicit memory also includes behaviors learned through emotional conditioning. You might have a fear of spiders but not consciously remember why or what occurred to condition that fear. Retrieval. How did you get information back out of storage? Retrieval is the act of getting information out of memory storage and back into conscious awareness. Retrieval is needed for everyday functioning, so knowing how to drive to work or perform your job once you get there. 3 ways to retrieve information. Recall, being able to access information without cues, so used for an essay test. Recognition, being able to identify information that you have previously learned after encountering it again, used for multiple choice tests. Relearning, learning information that you previously learned. After learning Spanish in high school, you might forget how to speak it if you do not use it. However, if you try to relearn it, you will learn it quicker than the first time. Parts of the brain involved in memory. Carl Lashley and engrams. Carl Lashley was looking for evidence of an engram, the group of neurons that serve as the physical representation of a memory. They studied the parts of the brain involved in memory by making lesions of the brain of animals such as rats and monkeys, trained rats to learn their way around a maze, and then made lesions to try and move their memory. Lashley was unable to find evidence of an engram. The rats were still able to remember their way around the maze, so he formulated a new hypothesis. Apototically hypothesis. If part of one area of the brain involved in memory is damaged, another part of the same area can take over the memory's function. Eric Kandel studied the synapses and its role in controlling the flow of information through neural circuits needed to store memories. Scientists have now identified different parts of the brain involved in memory. So there's the prefrontal cortex, amygdala, hippocampus, and cerebellum. The amygdala, involved in fear and fear memories, memory storage influenced by stress hormones, processes emotional information important to encoding memories as a deeper level and memory consolidation. The hippocampus is associated with specific memory, recognition memory, and special memory. It projects information to cortical regions that give memories meaning and connection them with other memories. Involved in memory consolidation, damage led to an inability to process new declarative memories. So patient HM had both temporal lobes removed, including the hippocampi, to help control his seizures. Declarative memory was significantly affected. He could not form new somatic knowledge or episodic memories. The cerebellum plays a role in processing procedural memories such as how to play the piano and classical conditioning. Damage prevents classical conditioning such as eye blink in response to a puff of air. Prefrontal cortex appears to be involved in remembering somatic tasks, so PET scans show activation in the left inferior prefrontal cortex when completing somatic tasks. Encoding is associated with left frontal activity. Retrieval information is associated with the right frontal region. Neurotransmitters. Communication among neurons via neurotransmitter is critical for the development of new memories. Repeated neuron activity, increased neurotransmitter in the synapse, stronger synaptic connections. So this is how memory consolidation occurs. Neurotransmitters involved in memory are norepinephrine, dopamine, serotonin, glutamate, and acetylcholine. Arousal theory is strong emotions trigger the formation of strong memories and weaker emotional experiences from weaker memories. Strong emotional experiences can trigger the release of neurotransmitters which strengthen the memory, evidenced by flashbulb memories and exceptionally clear recollection of important emotional event. Flashbulb memory. A record of an atypical and unusual event that has very strong emotional association. Most people can remember where they were when they first heard about the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Amnesia, the loss of long-term memory that occurs as a result of disease, physical trauma, or psychological trauma. There are 2 common types. Anterogate amnesia, inability to remember new information after point of trauma, commonly caused by brain trauma. Hippocampus is usually affected, causes inability to transfer information from STM to LTM. Retrograde amnesia is loss of memory, partial or complete, for events that occurred prior to the trauma. So retrograde is in the past, anterograde is in the present. Memory construction and reconstruction. Construction, formulation of new memories. Reconstruction, process of bringing old memories. When we retrieve memories, we tend to unintentionally alter and modify them, resulting in inaccuracies and distortions. So suggestibility is the effects of misinformation from external sources that leads to a creation of false memories. Can cause people to claim they remember something that was only a suggestion someone made. Memories are fragile, making them vulnerable to the power of suggestion. An important area of study has been the role of suggestibility in eyewitness testimonies. Eyewitness misidentification. Eyewitness identification and testimonies is often used in the prosecution of criminals. Research suggests that suggestive police identification procedures can lead to alterations in eyewitness memory, leading to misidentification. In studying cases where DNA evidence has exonerated people from crimes, the Innocence Project discovered that eyewitness misidentification is the leading cause of wrongful convictions. The misinformation effect. Elizabeth Loftus studied false memories. Misinformation effect paradigm. After exposure to incorrect information, a person may misremember the original event. So a study in 1974 asked college students to estimate the speed of cars using different form of question. Participants were shown film of a car accident and were asked to play the toll of the eyewitness and describe what happened. Were asked about how fast the car was going when they smashed, collided, bumped, hit, contacted each other. Participants that heard the word smash estimated the car was traveling a lot faster than those who heard the word contacted. If they heard the word glass, they remember more than twice as likely to say they remember seeing glass, a false memory. The implied meaning of the word used influence of the participant's memory in the accident. The Lotus study. When people are asked leading questions about an event, their memory of may event be altered. Repressed and recovered memories. A controversial topic with psychology is the idea that whole events can be repressed or falsely recalled. False memory syndrome is the recall of false autobiographical memories. Repressed memories is some psychologists believe it is possible to completely repress traumatic childhood memories such as sexual abuse. Can lead to psychological distress in adulthood. Some believe that these can be recalled through hypnosis and guided imagery techniques. Loftus challenges the idea that repressed memories and questions, if recalled memories, are accurate, or whether the processes of questioning and such ability leads to the misinformation effect. How can such ability be avoided when questioning eyewitnesses? Why do we forget? Forgetting is the loss of information from long-term memory. Encoding failure. Encoding failure occurs when a memory is never stored in our memory in the first place. Successful encoding requires effort and attention. Can you tell which coin is the accurate depiction of the U.S. nickel? Most Americans cannot tell which one because we do not encode the specific details. We just know enough to differentiate it from other coins. Memory errors. Schnasser's 7 sins of memory. Forgetting type. Transience. Accessible of the memory decreases over time, so storage decay. Absent-mindedness. Forgetting caused by the lapse of intention. Blocking. Accessibility of information is temporarily blocked, aka tip of the tongue phenomenon. Distortion type. Misattribution, source of memory is confused, susceptibility, false memories, bias, memories distorted by current belief system, intrusion type, persistence, and ability to forget undesirable memories. Transient storage decay. Over time, unused information tends to fade away. Ebbinghaus, 1885, studied the processes of memorization. The Ebbinghaus forgot curve shows how quickly memory for new information decays, 50% after 20 minutes and 70% after 24 hours. Bias. According to Schottner, your feelings and views of the world can distort your memory of past events. Stereotypical bias involves racial and gender biases. After presenting people with a list of names, they more frequently incorrectly remember typical African American names to be associated with occupation basketball player and typical white names to be associated with occupation political. Ageocentric bias involves enhancing our memories of the past. People remember events in a way that makes them look better. Hindsight bias, the tendency to think the outcome was inevitable after the fact, thinking you knew it all along. Persistence. Many veterans of military conflicts involuntarily recall unwanted and unpleasant memories. Interference. Sometimes forgetting is caused by failure to retrieve information. This can be due to interference, either retroactive or proactive. Ways to enhance memory. Rehearsal. Conscious repetition of information to be remembered. Chunking, organizing information into manageable bits or chunks, separating phone numbers into 3 chunks. Elaborative rehearsal, technique in which you think about the meaning of new information and its relation to knowledge already stored in your memory. Mnemonic devices, memory aids that help us organize information for encoding. One way to remember the order of planets is the name Mr. Vem Jason. Other techniques can include expressive writing, saying words out loud. Mnemonic devices. This is a knuckle mnemonic to help you remember the number of days in each month. Months with 31 days are represented by the protrude knuckles, and shorter months fall in the spots between the knuckles. How to study effectively. Memory techniques can be useful when studying for class. Use elaborative rehearsal. Link information to other information or memories to make it more meaningful. Apply the self-reference effect. Make information personally meaningful to you. Don't forget the forgetting curve. Keep studying to prevent storage decay. Rehearse. Beware of interference. Study without distractions. Keep moving. Aerobatic exercise promotes neurogenesis, the growth of new brain cells in the hippocampus. Get enough sleep. The brain consolidates memories while sleeping. And then make use of mnemonic devices. So this is going to be it for Chapter 8. Thank you for your time and have a good rest of your day.